So when will the revolution come? If it will come. Let's put that question to my next guest, Lord Adonis, the UK Minister for Transport. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Now, when will the UK, if any time, focus on these high-speed rail links?
We currently have a high-speed line between London and Paris, which is proving a great success. We have a report which has come to me on the options for developing high-speed rail north of London, looking particularly at linking our two major conurbations, Greater London and the West Midlands, Birmingham, with options for taking that line further north to other conurbations going north and ultimately through to Glasgow and Edinburgh in Scotland. As you say, the international evidence is that where journey times by rail come under 3 hours, then there's a huge switch from the plane to the train, and that could be of great significance for traffic between London and Scotland if we developed a high-speed line. Well,
between, for example, Scotland and London, Network Rail back in August said it would cost £34 billion to build this high-speed link. What's the latest on this? Where will the money actually come from in this recession?
I can't comment on specific costs. We're looking at them at the moment. It would be many tens of billions of pounds, but this would be after 2017-2018 if we proceeded with the plans. It will take 6-7 years to develop the plans, get all the parliamentary and planning approvals and so on. But after that, of course, this is an investment in a future transport infrastructure that would last a century or more. So the question is whether we could phase investment after that in a way that is affordable, in precisely the way that most other European countries have done and are continuing to do, and a large number of Asian countries are doing too. And the United States, President Obama has plans for high-speed rail in the US too. This is an international phenomenon, and Britain can't stand apart.
Are you talking to anyone in the city to get some financial expertise on how to fund this?
Indeed.
Without speaking of numbers, but who are you talking with and what are they saying?
We would wish this to be a public-private partnership. We, in fact, have a lot of experience of successful public-private partnerships in developing infrastructure in Britain, including transport infrastructure. The original high-speed line, the one between London and Paris, and the tunnel under the Channel were both developed as public-private partnerships, and I hope we'll be able to do the same here too.
And trains also are the more eco-friendly, green
Absolutely.
Technology.
Yeah. The carbon emissions per passenger kilometre by train are a fraction of those by either car or by plane, and this is an important factor in our consideration.
But does this mean that you would rather invest money in the rail high-speed links rather than in airports, or do you have money to fund both?
Well, the private sector invests in airports, and we are allowing for some airport expansion. There's a big controversy at the moment about the expansion of Heathrow, where the government is allowing an expansion to take place. But the very fact that there's a controversy tells you quite a lot about the social tolerance for increased aviation. Aviation will expand, clearly. There is a growing demand for planes, particularly long-haul flights. But when it comes to short-haul flights, which could be done by train, then I think that there's a growing recognition that we should have the option of the train there, and that this is worth the investment.
What's exactly the latest on this third runway at Heathrow, which you mentioned is very controversial?
The government has given the airport operator, BAA, permission to come forward with a planning application. The ball is now in the court of the airport operator to produce a planning application, and then things will proceed from there.
Lord Adonis, we've been talking so much about the fact that city bankers or indeed companies may actually get out of London because of extra taxes, because of bonuses will be cut, and there has also been a lot of criticism about London with Heathrow not being big enough or not being serviceable enough. Do you see this as an issue? I
don't see any sign that London is losing its incredibly powerful, attractive force for international business and finance. It still remains strong. Of course, there are issues to do with the regulation of the banks, but they're not just here in Britain. They're international. Look at President Obama's proposals in the US. We're investing in infrastructure. A big new underground line, Crossrail, will serve the city within the next 6 years. London is still a very attractive place to do business. Lord Adonis, thank you so much for joining us here on Bloomberg.